Welcome to the only daily podcast focusing on compliance news of the day. Each morning, start your day with a cup of coffee and Tom Fox, the voice of compliance, to hear about 4 of the top compliance, corruption, or leadership stories you will need to start your day. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.
The Daily Compliance News for April 9, 2025, the Corruption at the Department of Justice edition. And we begin with that story from the Associated Press, the AP. A fired Justice Department pardon lawyer, accused the agency of ongoing corruption and abuse of power when testifying Monday at a congressional hearing meant to showcase the concerns that the Trump administration is assaulting the rule of law, abusing its power, and forcing out career civil servants. It should offend all Americans that our leaders are treating public servants with a lack of basic decency and humanity, said the witness, Liz Oyer, who until recently headed up the pardons section at the DOJ. She was fired, of course, because she refused to recommend the gun rights of former actor Mel Gibson be restored after she was ordered to do so. And she pointed out, of course, the disinformation and disingenuousness of the resignations and firings that have hollowed out the ranks of experienced career lawyers. Attorney General Bondi and her leadership team have signaled no patience for dissent within the workforce and suspending government lawyers who admitted in court that the deportation of a Maryland man was a mistake. She said as recently as Friday, the DOJ tried to intimidate her into silence by dispatching armed federal marshals to her house to deliver a letter warning her against testifying. Yep, that's your DOJ under Trump. Next up from the Wall Street Journal, Wall Street burst with anger over the stupidity of Trump tariffs. Billionaire investors are in an unfamiliar position, and they're not used to being on the outside looking in, but this is where they find themselves, and they are saying this is stupid. Well, not that they're smart because they're billionaires, but they're absolutely spot on. These are inanely stupid. Next, I'm at a very troubling article from Bloomberg. It reports that hackers spied on the U.S. bank regulator, the Office of the Comptroller and Currency, or the OCC, for over 1 year without being detected. They gained access to messages containing agency deliberations, sensitive details about the banks it oversees, and the attackers were able to monitor emails at the OCC after breaking into an administrator's account. The intrusion was discovered earlier this year. And our final story comes to us from Reuters, which reports that the U.S. Senate panel has advanced the Trumpian pick of Paul Atkins to the SEC. Now, Atkins has lots of experience with the SEC, having been there back in the first decade of this year. He has not opined on whether he will be willing to eviscerate the SEC as the current head of the SEC, the temporary head before he becomes the commissioner, and he will become the commissioner. It's unknown if that he will eviscerate enforcement as well, but the Trump administration certainly seems to be pushing the SEC in a direction of, if not zero regulation, very, very light touch and no enforcement. So, good luck, Paul Atkins. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow.